Lily Martinez had always hated going through other people's belongings. There was something deeply personal about it, something that felt like intruding on private memories. But here she was, sitting cross-legged on the dusty floor of her Aunt Rosa's attic in Chicago, surrounded by boxes that smelled like mothballs and old paper. Aunt Rosa had passed away 2 weeks ago. She was 73, vibrant until the very end, and her death from breast cancer had hit the family hard. Lily, being the only niece who lived nearby, had volunteered to help sort through her aunt's things. Well, volunteered wasn't exactly the right word. Her cousins all lived out of state and someone had to do it. The attic was overwhelming. Decades of life packed into cardboard boxes and plastic bins. Photo albums from the 70s with people Lily didn't recognize. Old clothes that still held the faint scent of Rosa's perfume. Kitchen items, books, random knickknacks that probably meant something important once but now just looked like clutter. Lily wiped sweat from her forehead. It was late September, but the attic was stuffy and hot. She'd been at this for 3 hours and her back was starting to ache. She was about to call it a day when she noticed a small wooden box tucked behind a stack of quilts in the corner. The box was beautiful, actually. Dark mahogany with intricate carved patterns along the edges. It looked expensive, the kind of thing that should be displayed on a mantel, not hidden in an attic. Lily pulled it out carefully, surprised by its weight. She ran her fingers over the smooth wood, wondering why her aunt had kept it hidden away. There was a small brass latch on the front. Lily flipped it open and lifted the lid. Inside, nestled in faded purple velvet, was a digital voice recorder. Not an old cassette player or anything vintage that would match the box, but a modern digital recorder. Maybe 5 or 6 years old. The contrast was strange. A yellow sticky note was attached to the recorder. The handwriting was shaky, clearly written by someone whose hands weren't steady anymore. It said, "Play this when you're alone. Trust me, mija." Misha. That's what Aunt Rosa always called her. My daughter. Even though Lily had a perfectly good mother, Rosa had always treated her like her own child. A lump formed in Lily's throat. She should probably wait until she got home. The attic was getting dark and she was tired, but curiosity won out. Lily pressed the power button, and a small green light flickered on. The battery still had charge. She found the play button and hesitated for just a second before pressing it. There was static at first, the kind of white noise that makes you think nothing's recorded. Then a voice came through, clear and unmistakable. Lily's hand jerked and she nearly dropped the recorder. It was her voice, her own voice. But not quite. It sounded like her, had her slight accent, the way she pronounced certain words. But it was different too. Older somehow. Rougher around the edges, like someone who'd smoked for years. Even though Lily had never touched a cigarette in her life. "Lily," the voice said, and hearing her own voice say her name sent chills down her spine. "I know this is going to sound completely insane. Trust me, I get it. But you need to listen to every word I'm about to say because your life depends on it." Lily's heart was pounding now. This had to be a prank. One of her cousins, maybe. Using some AI voice technology to mess with her. But how would they have gotten the recorder into Aunt Rosa's box? How would they have known she'd find it? The voice continued. "You need to get tested for the BRCA gene mutation. Don't put it off. Don't tell yourself you'll do it next month or next year. Do it now. Call Dr. Peterson at Memorial Hospital tomorrow morning. Mom had the gene. Aunt Rosa had it. And you have it too." Lily felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. Her mother. Her mother had died of ovarian cancer when Lily was just 15 years old. 14 years ago now. But the grief still hit her sometimes like a wave. And Aunt Rosa had just died of breast cancer. She'd always known cancer ran in the family, but she'd never really thought about genetic testing. She was only 32, young, healthy. She ran 3 times a week and ate salads for lunch. "I know you're scared," her own voice said from the recorder, gentler now. "I was too. But finding out early saves lives. It saved mine. Well, it could have saved it better if I'd known sooner. Just get tested, please." There was a pause, and Lily could hear breathing on the recording. Her breathing, apparently. "There's something else," the voice said, and now it sounded sad. "You need to talk to Daniel. I know you two haven't spoken in almost 2 years. I know you think you did the right thing by ending it. But you didn't. You were scared and you ran, and it was the biggest mistake of your life. Of my life, our life, whatever, Daniel." Lily's chest tightened. Daniel Park, her ex-boyfriend. They'd dated for 3 years. and he'd proposed to her on a beach in California during what was supposed to be a romantic weekend getaway. She'd said no. Actually, she'd done worse than say no. She'd broken up with him right there on the beach and left the next morning. She'd told him she didn't believe in marriage, that she wasn't built for that kind of commitment, that watching her father fall apart after her mother died had taught her that loving someone that much was just setting yourself up for devastating loss. Better to keep things casual, to protect yourself. Daniel had looked at her like she'd stabbed him. He'd asked if she even loved him at all. She'd said yes, but not enough. It wasn't true. She'd loved him desperately. That was exactly the problem. Tell Daniel you love him, the voice on the recorder said. Tell him before it's too late. I can't explain what too late means, but trust me. Don't wait. The recording crackled and then stopped. Lily stared at the device in her hand. The display showed the date the recording was made. September 28th. 5 years from now. 5 years in the future. That was impossible. Obviously impossible. Lily sat there in the dimming light of the attic, her mind racing through explanations. Someone was messing with her. But who and why? The voice was too perfect. She'd heard her own voice on recordings plenty of times on voicemails and videos. She knew what she sounded like. This was her. She played the recording again. And then a third time. Each time the same chill ran down her spine when she heard herself speaking. The sky outside the small attic window had turned deep purple. Lily realized she'd been sitting in the same spot for almost an hour, just listening to the recording over and over. Her legs had gone numb. She carefully placed the recorder back in the wooden box and closed the lid. She picked up the box and stood, her knees cracking in protest. She needed to go home. She needed to think. She needed to figure out what was happening. As Lily climbed down the attic stairs, the box tucked under her arm, she couldn't shake the feeling that her entire life had just shifted in some fundamental way. Everything she thought she knew, everything she thought was certain, suddenly felt uncertain. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from her best friend asking if she wanted to grab dinner. Lily stared at the message but didn't respond. She couldn't imagine sitting in a restaurant right now making small talk, pretending everything was normal. Nothing was normal. She'd just heard her future self warning her about cancer, and a man she'd tried hard to forget. And somehow, impossibly, she believed every word. Lily didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the wooden box sitting on her nightstand like it might explode at any moment. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard her own voice. Get tested. Talk to Daniel. Before it's too late. At 3 a.m, she gave up on sleep and made coffee. She sat at her kitchen table with her laptop and started researching BRCA genes. What she found made her stomach turn. Women with BRCA1 mutations had up to an 87% chance of developing breast cancer in their lifetime. Ovarian cancer rates were high too. The numbers were terrifying. But what struck her even more was reading stories from women who'd been tested, who'd found out they carried the mutation, who'd made impossible choices about their own bodies to stay alive. Some chose to have their breasts removed before cancer ever appeared. Others had their ovaries taken out. Some did both. Some chose to do nothing but monitor closely, living with the constant fear of what might be growing inside them. Lily thought about her mother. Victoria Martinez had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer at 41. Gone by 43, Lily remembered the chemo, the hair loss, the way her vibrant, dancing mother had withered into someone unrecognizable. She remembered her father sobbing in the hospital hallway. She remembered being 15 and angry at the world. Was that her future too? Had her mother carried this gene and passed it down without ever knowing? The sun was coming up when Lily finally picked up her phone. Her hands shook as she searched for Memorial Hospital's number. It was too early to call. The office wouldn't open until 9. She set an alarm and tried to rest her eyes for a few hours. When 9 o'clock came, Lily was already wide awake. She dialed before she could talk herself out of it. Memorial Hospital, how can I direct your call? I need to make an appointment with Dr. Peterson for genetic counseling. The words felt foreign in her mouth. Of course. Can I ask who referred you? Lily hesitated. It's a family history thing. My mother died of ovarian cancer. My aunt just passed from breast cancer. The receptionist's voice softened. I'm so sorry for your losses. Let me get you scheduled. Dr. Peterson has an opening next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Would that work? Next Tuesday was 6 days away. Lily wanted to say no, that she needed to see someone today, right now. But she forced herself to breathe. Yes, that works. She gave her information and hung up. Her heart was racing like she'd just run a marathon. She'd done it. She'd made the appointment. Whether the recording was real or some elaborate hoax, at least she'd know. At least she'd have information. The next few days crawled by. Lily went through the motions at work. She was a nurse at a pediatric clinic, and normally she loved her job. But this week, every crying baby and worried parent felt overwhelming. She kept thinking about her own health, her own future, the children she might or might not have someday. She told her best friend Vanessa about the appointment, but not about the recording. Just being proactive, she'd said. With my family history, it makes sense. Vanessa had hugged her tight. You're brave for doing this. Most people just bury their heads in the sand. Brave wasn't how Lily felt. Terrified was more accurate. Tuesday arrived. Lily sat in the waiting room of the genetics clinic, filling out forms about her family medical history. Mother, ovarian cancer, deceased. Aunt, breast cancer, deceased. Grandmother, unknown. The pattern was there in black and white. Dr. Peterson turned out to be a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and gray hair pulled back in a bun. She reviewed Lily's family history carefully. Based on what you've told me, I would definitely recommend genetic testing. Dr. Peterson said gently, the pattern of cancer in your family is significant. Your mother's ovarian cancer at such a young age. Your aunt's breast cancer. These are red flags for a BRCA mutation. How does the testing work? Lily asked. Her voice sounded small. It's simple. Just a blood draw. We send it to a lab that sequences your DNA looking for mutations in the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes. Results take about 3 weeks. 21 days of waiting and wondering. And if I have it? If the test is positive? Dr. Peterson's expression was compassionate. Then we talk about options. Enhanced screening, medications that can lower risk, preventive surgeries. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First we test, then we make decisions based on actual information, not fear. Lily nodded and rolled up her sleeve. The blood draw took less than 5 minutes. 3 vials of dark red blood that held the answer to questions she'd never wanted to ask. Walking out of the hospital, Lily felt disconnected from her body. She sat in her car for a long time before starting the engine. 3 weeks. She had to wait 3 weeks to know if her future held the same fate as her mother's. That night, she pulled out the wooden box again and listened to the recording for the 100th time. Her future self sounded so certain. You have it too. Was the recording really from the future? Or had someone just made a lucky guess based on family history? Either way, she was doing what the voice said. She was getting tested. But the other part of the recording haunted her just as much. Tell Daniel you love him before it's too late. Lily hadn't talked to Daniel in almost 2 years. She'd deleted his number, unfollowed him on social media, done everything she could to move on. But she'd never stopped thinking about him. Never stopped regretting that moment on the beach when fear had made her throw away the best thing in her life. She opened her laptop and searched for him. Daniel Park, architect, Chicago. His firm's website popped up. There he was in the staff photos, smiling that same smile that used to make her heart skip. He looked good, maybe a little older, a few more lines around his eyes, but still Daniel. Before she could overthink it, Lily found his email on the website and started typing. Hi, Daniel. I know this is completely out of nowhere and you probably don't want to hear from me. I wouldn't blame you if you deleted this without reading it, but I've been thinking a lot about the past lately, about choices I've made, and I realized I owe you an apology. What I did was cruel. You deserve so much better than what I gave you. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and that ending things the way I did is one of my biggest regrets. She read it over 3 times. It wasn't enough. Words could never be enough. But it was something. She hit send before she could chicken out. The 3 weeks of waiting for test results were torture. Lily threw herself into work, picked up extra shifts, anything to keep her mind occupied. She checked her email obsessively, but Daniel never responded. Of course he didn't. Why would he? She'd broken his heart and disappeared. On day 19, her phone rang. Dr. Peterson's office. Ms. Martinez, Dr. Peterson would like to see you to discuss your results. Can you come in tomorrow at 10? Lily's mouth went dry. Can't you just tell me over the phone? Dr. Peterson prefers to discuss results in person. I can tell you she had a cancellation tomorrow if you're available. They wanted her to come in. That meant it wasn't good news, right? If the test was negative, they'd just tell her over the phone, wouldn't they? "I'll be there," Lily managed to say. She called in sick to work. She couldn't imagine functioning normally knowing what was coming. That night she didn't even try to sleep. She sat on her couch with the wooden box in her lap, holding the recorder like it was a lifeline. "You were right," she whispered to her future self. "Weren't you? You were right about everything." The next morning, Lily drove to Memorial Hospital in a daze. She sat in Dr. Peterson's office, hands clenched in her lap, trying to prepare herself for words she didn't want to hear. Dr. Peterson came in carrying a folder. She sat down and looked at Lily with those kind, sad eyes that told her everything before a single word was spoken. "Lily, your test came back positive for a BRCA1 mutation." The room seemed to tilt. Lily heard the words, understood them, but they felt unreal. Positive, she had it. The gene that killed her mother. The gene that killed Aunt Rosa. The gene her future self had warned her about. "I know this is scary," Dr. Peterson continued. "But knowledge is power. Now that we know, we can be proactive. We can monitor you closely. We can discuss your options." Lily barely heard the rest. Something about MRIs and mammograms and blood tests every 6 months. Something about medications. Something about surgery. When she left the office, she had a stack of pamphlets and a follow-up appointment scheduled for 2 weeks out. She sat in her car and cried. Not delicate tears, but huge, gasping sobs that made her whole body shake. The recording had been real. Her future self had really sent her a message. And if that part was true, what about the rest? Before it's too late, what did that mean? Too late for what? Lily pulled out her phone with shaking hands and opened her email. Still nothing from Daniel. She typed a new message. "I need to see you, please." This time she didn't overthink it. She just sent it and prayed he'd respond. Daniel's reply came 3 hours later. 3 hours that felt like 3 years. Lily had been staring at her phone so long her eyes hurt. Saturday, 2 p.m. The coffee shop on Clark Street where we used to go. "I'll be there," that was it. No warmth, no anger, just factual. Lily read the message a dozen times, trying to decode emotion that wasn't there. At least he'd agreed to see her. That was something. Saturday was 4 days away. 4 days to figure out what she was going to say to the man whose heart she'd shattered. 4 days to decide how much truth to tell him. She couldn't exactly lead with "My future self sent me a mysterious recording from 5 years in the future, warning me about you." He'd think she'd lost her mind. Lily spent those 4 days in a fog. She went to work, came home, researched BRCA treatment options until her brain hurt, then lay awake at night thinking about Daniel. She remembered everything. The way he laughed at her terrible jokes, how he'd bring her coffee on Sunday mornings, the time he'd stayed up all night with her when her cat died, just holding her while she cried. She remembered the proposal too. The beach at sunset, the ring, the hope in his eyes, and the look on his face when she'd said no. Like she'd reached into his chest and torn something vital out. Saturday arrived cold and gray, typical Chicago autumn weather. Lily changed her outfit 4 times before settling on jeans and a sweater. Nothing too formal, nothing that looked like she was trying too hard. She left her apartment early and walked the 2 miles to the coffee shop, needing the time to clear her head. The coffee shop looked exactly the same. Same wooden tables, same chalkboard menu, same smell of espresso and cinnamon. Lily arrived 10 minutes early and ordered a tea she didn't want, just to have something to do with her hands. Daniel walked in at exactly 2 o'clock. Punctual, like always. Lily's breath caught when she saw him. He wore a dark blue jacket she didn't recognize and glasses he hadn't needed 2 years ago. But his walk was the same, his posture, the way he scanned the room until his eyes found her. For a moment they just looked at each other. Then Daniel walked over and sat down across from her. He didn't smile, but he didn't look angry either. "Just cautious, hi," Lily said. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "Hi." Daniel folded his hands on the table. "You said you needed to see me. Right to the point. No small talk." Lily couldn't blame him. "I did. I do." She wrapped her hands around her teacup even though it was still too hot to drink. "Thank you for coming." "I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't." His voice was even, controlled. "What's this about, Lily?" She'd rehearsed this conversation 100 times in her head, but now Hattie was sitting across from her. All her planned words evaporated. "I've been thinking about what happened between us. about how I ended things, and I realize I never really explained myself. I just ran. Daniel's jaw tightened. You explained plenty. You said you didn't believe in marriage, that you weren't built for commitment, that you didn't love me enough. I lied. The words came out in a rush. About that last part. I lied because I was terrified. Terrified of what? Of losing you the way my dad lost my mom. Lily's eyes were burning now, tears threatening. I watched my mother die when I was 15. I watched cancer destroy her. And I watched my father completely fall apart. He loved her so much that when she was gone, he was just broken. He's still broken. And I thought if I never let myself love someone that much, I'd never have to go through that pain. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. So you broke my heart to protect yourself from maybe getting your heart broken later? I know how it sounds. I know it was selfish and stupid and cruel. Lily wiped at her eyes. You deserve so much better than what I gave you. Yeah, I did. Daniel's voice wasn't mean, just honest. It hurt more than anger would have. They sat in silence. Around them, the coffee shop hummed with other people's conversations, other people's normal Saturday afternoons. Lily wanted to tell him about the recording, about the test results, about all of it. But the words stuck in her throat. Can I ask you something? Daniel said finally. Anything. Why now? It's been 2 years, Lily. Why reach out to me now? This was it. The moment of truth. Lily took a deep breath. Because I got some health news recently. Bad news. And it made me realize that life's too short to live in fear. Too short to not tell people the truth. She met his eyes. I love you, Daniel. I loved you then and I never stopped. Saying no to you on that beach wasn't about not loving you. It was about loving you too much and being too scared to admit it. Daniel's expression shifted, surprise breaking through his careful composure. What kind of health news? Lily hesitated, then decided he deserved the whole truth. I tested positive for a BRCA1 gene mutation. It's the gene that causes breast and ovarian cancer. My mom had it. My Aunt Rosa had it. Now I have it. She watched his face change, watched understanding and concern replace the guardedness. Lily, I'm so sorry. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made her heart ache. What does that mean? What happens now? It means I have choices to make. Lots of monitoring. Maybe preventive surgery down the road. It's a lot to process. Are you okay? I mean physically right now? Yeah, I don't have cancer. I just have a really high chance of getting it someday if I don't do something about it. Daniel reached across the table and took her hand. The gesture was so natural, so automatic, like his body remembered what his mind was trying to forget. That's terrifying. It is. Lily looked down at their joined hands. But at least I know. At least I can make informed decisions instead of just waiting for the other shoe to drop. They talked for 2 hours, not about the past at first, just about the present. Daniel told her about his architecture firm, about the sustainable housing project he was working on. Lily told him about her job at the clinic, about finishing Aunt Rosa's attic, about the wooden box. She didn't mention the recording. Not yet, but she watched him carefully, looking for signs of whatever danger her future self had warned about. Before it's too late. What did that mean? Daniel looked healthy. Tired maybe, with shadows under his eyes that suggested too many late nights working. But healthy. Can I see you again? Lily asked when they finally stood to leave. I know I don't have the right to ask, but I'd really like to see you again. Daniel studied her face for a long moment. I'm not going to lie. Part of me wants to say no. Part of me wants to protect myself the way you tried to protect yourself 2 years ago. Lily's heart sank. But, Daniel continued, I spent 2 years trying to get over you, and it didn't work. So yeah, let's see each other again. Relief flooded through her. Really? Really? But slow, okay? I need slow. Slow is good. Slow is perfect. They walked out of the coffee shop together. The sky had cleared, weak autumn sunlight breaking through the clouds. At the corner where they'd normally go different directions, Daniel pulled her into a hug. Lily buried her face in his shoulder and breathed him in, the familiar scent of his cologne mixed with something uniquely him. I missed you, she whispered. I missed you too. Even when I was angry at you, I missed you. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a careful rhythm. Coffee dates, walks through the park, dinner at quiet restaurants where they could talk. Daniel was true to his word about going slow. No rushing, no big declarations. Just two people learning each other again. Lily had her follow-up appointment with Dr. Peterson and brought home a mountain of information about her options. Enhanced screening meant MRIs every 6 months, mammograms, blood tests, or she could consider preventive surgery, a double mastectomy, maybe removing her ovaries too. The decisions felt impossible. She was only 32. She didn't even have cancer yet. How do you choose to remove healthy parts of your body? Just because they might betray you someday. One night, curled up on Daniel's couch watching a movie they weren't really watching, Lily told him about her fears. What if I do the surgery and then regret it? What if I don't do it and end up like my mom? Daniel pulled her closer. There's no right answer, Lily. Whatever you decide, I'm here. We'll figure it out together. We. The word made her want to cry. After 2 years apart, after everything she'd done to push him away, he was still here. Still choosing her. There's something I need to tell you, Lily said suddenly. Something weird. She told him about the recording. About finding it in Aunt Rosa's attic. About her own voice warning her from 5 years in the future. She expected him to think she was crazy. Instead, Daniel listened carefully. Play it for me, he said. Lily pulled out her phone. She'd transferred the recording. Listened to it so many times she had parts memorized. She pressed play. They listened together. When it ended, Daniel was quiet for a long time. The part about getting tested probably saved your life, he said finally. If you'd waited 5 years, who knows what might have happened. I know. But the other part, about telling me you love me before it's too late. Daniel's face had gone pale. Lily, what if it's not about our relationship? What if something's going to happen to me? The same thought had occurred to Lily, but hearing Daniel say it out loud made it real. Made it terrifying. You should see a doctor, she said. Get a full checkup. Blood work, everything. I had a physical 6 months ago. Everything was fine. Daniel, please, just do it. For me. He must have heard the fear in her voice because he nodded. Okay, I'll make an appointment. 2 weeks later, Daniel called her from his doctor's office. His voice was shaking. Lily, can you come to Northwestern Memorial? I'm in the neurology department. Lily's heart stopped. Neurology? Daniel, what's happening? Just come, please, I need you here. His voice cracked on the last word. Lily grabbed her keys and ran. She made the 20-minute drive in 12, her mind racing through terrible possibilities. Neurology meant brain, spine, nerves. Nothing good happened in neurology departments. She found Daniel sitting in a small consultation room, his face ashen. A doctor stood nearby, a tall woman with short gray hair and a white coat. When Lily burst through the door, Daniel stood and pulled her into his arms. What's going on? Lily looked between Daniel and the doctor. Someone please tell me what's happening. The doctor extended her hand. I'm Dr. Kim, you must be Lily. Daniel mentioned you were coming. She gestured for them to sit. I'm a neurologist. Daniel came in today complaining of persistent headaches he's been having for the past few months. Headaches? Lily looked at Daniel. You didn't tell me you were having headaches. I didn't think they were a big deal, Daniel said quietly. Just stress from work. But you told me to get checked out, so I mentioned them to my doctor. He ordered an MRI just to be safe. Dr. Kim pulled up an image on her computer screen. It looked like a cross-section of a brain, all grays and whites that meant nothing to Lily. We found an aneurysm, Dr. Kim said, pointing to a small bulge in one of the blood vessels, right here in the middle cerebral artery. It's small, about 4 millimeters, but it's there. The word aneurysm hit Lily like a physical blow. She knew what that meant. A weak spot in a blood vessel, a balloon waiting to pop. If it ruptured, it could kill him, or leave him with devastating brain damage. How bad is it? Lily's medical training kicked in, pushing past the panic. What's the rupture risk? Small aneurysms like this rupture in about 0.5% of cases per year, Dr. Kim explained. But the thing is, most people live their entire lives never knowing they have one. Daniel's lucky we found it. Lucky? Lily almost laughed. This didn't feel lucky. What happens now? Daniel asked. His hand found Lily's and squeezed tight. We have options. We can monitor it with regular imaging to see if it grows, or we can treat it now preventively. There are 2 main approaches. Endovascular coiling, where we go through an artery in your groin and pack the aneurysm with tiny coils to prevent blood flow. Or surgical clipping, where we open the skull and place a clip on the aneurysm. Lily felt dizzy. Brain surgery. They were talking about brain surgery. Which do you rear? Commend? Daniel's voice was steady, but Lily could feel him trembling. Given your age and the location of the aneurysm, I'd recommend the endovascular approach. It's less invasive. You'd be in and out in a day or two, but I want to be clear. There are risks with any procedure. Stroke, bleeding, infection, or we could just watch it. And if we just watch it? Lily asked. Then we hope it doesn't grow. Hope it doesn't rupture. Most don't. But some do. Dr. Kim's expression was kind but honest. I've seen both scenarios. People who lived to 90 with unruptured aneurysms, and people who didn't get that lucky. The room felt too small. Lily's mind flashed to the recording. Before it's too late, this was it. This was what her future self had been warning about. If it ruptures, Lily said slowly. What are the survival rates? Dr. Kim hesitated. About 40% of people who have a ruptured aneurysm die before reaching the hospital. Of those who survive, many have permanent neurological damage. Daniel's hand tightened on Lily's. They sat in silence, processing. This thing in his brain, this tiny weakness in a blood vessel, could kill him at any moment, or it could never cause a problem at all. How do you make a decision with odds like that? Can we think about it? Daniel asked. Of course. Take a few days. Talk it over. But I wouldn't wait too long. Dr. Kim stood. My nurse will schedule a follow-up appointment for next week. If you have any questions before then, call me. They walked out of the hospital in a daze. The sun was setting, painting the Chicago skyline in oranges and reds. Beautiful and normal, while Lily's world tilted sideways. I need to sit down, Daniel said. They found a bench outside the hospital entrance. He put his head in his hands. This is insane. I feel fine. I feel completely normal. I know. Lily rubbed his back. But the headaches, Daniel, they were a warning sign. What if you hadn't pushed me to see a doctor? What if I just ignored them? His voice was hollow. I could have been walking around with this thing in my head, never knowing, until one day it just burst. Lily thought about the recording again. Tell Daniel you love him before it's too late. If she hadn't found that recording, she never would have reached out to him. He never would have gotten checked. They might never have found the aneurysm until it was too late. How did she know? Lily whispered. How did my future self know about this? Daniel looked at her. Maybe in the original timeline I didn't find out until it was too late. Maybe something happened to me and that's why she sent the message back. To change it. The thought made Lily's blood run cold. A timeline where Daniel's aneurysm ruptured. Where she lost him. Where her future self lived with the regret of not reconciling with him before he died. You need the surgery, Lily said firmly. I know it's scary. I know there are risks. But doing nothing is riskier. What if something goes wrong? What if something goes right? Lily took his face in her hands. What if we get ahead of this? What if you have the procedure and it's fine and we get to have a future together? Daniel's eyes were wet. I'm scared. Me too. But we'll do it together. Over the next week, they researched everything about brain aneurysms and treatment options. Lily used her medical connections to talk to other neurologists, getting second and third opinions. Everyone said the same thing. The aneurysm was small now, but it could grow. Better to treat it while it was manageable. Daniel scheduled the procedure for 3 weeks out. The waiting was torture. Every headache made them both panic. Every time Daniel seemed tired or dizzy, Lily's mind went to the worst-case scenario. They spent more time together during those 3 weeks than they had in the entire year before Lily had ended things. They talked about everything. Their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Daniel told her about the dark period after their breakup, when he'd thrown himself into work to avoid feeling anything. I was angry at you for a long time, he admitted one night. But I was also angry at myself for not fighting harder, for just letting you walk away. You shouldn't have had to fight for me, Lily said. I should have been brave enough to stay. We're both here now. That's what matters. Lily told him about her own decisions. She'd decided to have the preventive surgery. Not yet, but soon. After Daniel's procedure, after she knew he was okay. She couldn't handle both crises at once. We're quite a pair, Daniel said with a sad laugh, both trying to outsmart our own bodies. At least we're doing it together. The night before Daniel's procedure, they lay in his bed, not sleeping, just holding each other in the dark. I love you, Daniel said. I need you to know that. Whatever happens tomorrow, I love you. Nothing's going to happen tomorrow. Lily said fiercely. You're going to have the procedure and it's going to be fine, and then we're going to have the most boring, normal, beautiful life together. Promise? Promise. The morning of the surgery, Lily's hands shook so badly she could barely button her jacket. Daniel was calmer than she was, or at least pretending to be. They'd been at the hospital since 5 in the morning. Now at 7, a nurse was prepping him for the procedure. I'll be right here when you wake up, Lily promised, kissing his forehead. I know you will be. Daniel squeezed her hand. Thank you for making me do this. For saving my life. You would have done the same for me. They wheeled him away, and Lily was left in the waiting room with nothing to do but wait and pray and think about the recording. Her future self had sent her a message across time, a warning that had led to this moment. Had she changed the timeline? Or was this always how it was supposed to go? The procedure was supposed to take 2 to 3 hours. Every minute felt like an eternity. Lily paced. She tried to read. She called Vanessa, who came and sat with her, holding her hand. At hour 4, a nurse came out. Ms. Martinez? Dr. Kim would like to speak with you. Lily's heart stopped. 4 hours was too long. Something had gone wrong. She stood on shaking legs and followed the nurse to a small consultation room. Dr. Kim walked in, still in her surgical scrubs. Lily couldn't read her expression. Is he okay? The words tumbled out. Please tell me he's okay. Dr. Kim smiled. He's fine. The procedure went perfectly. We had a small complication that extended the time a bit, but we got it under control. The aneurysm is coiled. He should make a full recovery. Lily's legs gave out. She sat down hard in the chair, tears streaming down her face. He's really okay? He's really okay. He's in recovery now. You can see him in about an hour. When they finally let her in, Daniel was groggy but awake. He smiled when he saw her. Hey, he mumbled. Hey yourself. Lily took his hand, careful of the IV. You did it. It's over. We did it. His eyes were drooping, the medication pulling him back under. We changed the future. Lily thought about the recording, about her future self's warning. Tell him you love him before it's too late. They'd done it. They'd found the aneurysm before it could kill him. They'd saved his life, yeah, she whispered. We changed the future. Daniel came home from the hospital 2 days later. The doctors said his recovery was textbook perfect. No complications, no issues, just rest and healing. But Lily still watched him like a hawk, checking on him constantly, making sure he took his medications, insisting he stay in bed even when he felt fine. I'm okay, Daniel kept telling her. You can breathe now, but Lily couldn't. Not yet. Every time she looked at him, she thought about what could have happened. The aneurysm that could have ruptured without warning. The future where she might have lost him. The recording had saved his life. There was no other way to see it. 3 weeks passed. Daniel grew stronger every day. His incision healed. His headaches disappeared. Life started to feel almost normal again. Almost. Lily still had her own decisions to make. She sat in Dr. Peterson's office on a gray November morning, looking at pamphlets she'd read a dozen times already. Preventive bilateral mastectomy. Prophylactic oophorectomy. Medical terms for removing parts of her body that might kill her someday. You don't have to decide today, Dr. Peterson said gently. This is a huge choice. Take your time. How much time do I have? Lily asked. Before the odds catch up with me, there's no way to know. Some women with BRCA mutations never develop cancer. Others do. You're young. You have time to think about this. But Lily kept thinking about her mother. Diagnosed at 41, dead at 43. Aunt Rosa, who'd fought breast cancer twice before it finally won. How much time did they think they had? That night she talked to Daniel. They were curled up on his couch, the same spot where they'd listened to the recording together weeks ago. I think I want to do it, Lily said. The surgery, both surgeries. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Are you sure? No, I'm terrified. But I'm more terrified of ending up like my mom, of you having to watch me go through what my dad went through. Her voice cracked. We just got you healthy. I can't ask you to face cancer with me down the road. You're not asking me anything. I'm here no matter what. Daniel took her hand. But this has to be your choice. Not because you're scared of what might happen to me. Because it's what you want for yourself. Lily thought about that. What did she want? She wanted a future. She wanted to grow old. She wanted to see her kids grow up if she had kids. She wanted time. I want to live, she said simply. And if removing some parts of me gives me the best chance at that, then that's what I want. Then I'll be with you every step of the way. Lily scheduled the mastectomy for February. That gave her 3 months to prepare, to wrap her mind around what was coming. The ovary removal would come later, maybe in a year or two, one major surgery at a time. Those 3 months were strange. Life went on. The holidays came. Lily and Daniel spent Thanksgiving with her family, Christmas with his. Her father met Daniel for the first time and pulled Lily aside. He's good for you, her dad said. I can see it. You're happier than you've been in years. I am, Dad. Your mom would be proud of you. For getting tested. For being proactive. His eyes were wet. I wish she'd had that option. Lily hugged him tight. Me too. As February approached, Lily found herself thinking more and more about the recording. About her future self who'd sent the message back. She pulled out the wooden box one night while Daniel was asleep. The voice recorder sat there silent now, its message already delivered. She thought about Aunt Rosa. The journal entry she'd found mentioned something about a clinical trial, about consciousness and time. Rosa had believed in her final days that she'd experienced moments outside of linear time, that she'd seen past and future bleeding together. Had Rosa somehow facilitated the recording, created a way for Lily's future self to send a message back? It seemed impossible. But then again, everything about the recording seemed impossible. The surgery went well. Lily woke up in recovery feeling strange and hollow but alive. Daniel was there exactly where he'd promised to be. The reconstruction would come later. More surgeries spread over the next year. But the dangerous tissue was gone. The ticking time bomb in her chest had been diffused. Recovery was hard, not just physically but emotionally. Lily looked at herself in the mirror and saw a stranger. But she was alive. That was what mattered. Spring came. Then summer. Daniel proposed again, this time in their apartment, no beach, no grand gesture. Just the two of them and a simple question. Will you marry me? For real this time? Lily said yes without hesitation. No fear, no running, just yes. They got married in September, a small ceremony in a garden with close friends and family. Lily wore her mother's pearl necklace. Daniel cried during the vows. It was perfect. Years passed. Good years. Hard years. Lily had the second surgery, removing her ovaries. She and Daniel talked about kids and decided on adoption. They welcomed a daughter when Lily was 36. They named her Rosa. Time moved forward the way it always does. Lily changed jobs, moving from the pediatric clinic to teach nursing at a university. Daniel's architecture firm grew. Little Rosa started kindergarten, then elementary school. Life was beautifully, wonderfully ordinary. And then one day Lily woke up and realized it was September 28th. 5 years from the day she'd found the recording. 5 years from the date stamped on it. She sat at her kitchen table, coffee growing cold in front of her, and understood. Today was the day. The day she had to create the recording. The day the loop had to close. Daniel found her there an hour later, still sitting, still thinking. You okay? He asked. It's today. The date from the recording. Understanding crossed his face. You have to make it. I don't know how. I don't know what Aunt Rosa did, how she made it possible. But if I don't record it, if I don't send it back somehow, none of this happens. You die. I die. We never get this life. Then we figure it out. They went to Lily's storage unit where she'd kept Aunt Rosa's belongings. They found more journals, more notes about the clinical trial. Rosa had been part of something called the Temporal Consciousness Project, studying end-of-life experiences. She'd written about devices designed to record brain patterns, about theories of time as nonlinear, about consciousness existing outside normal causality. In the very last journal entry, dated 2 days before Rosa died, she'd written specific instructions. A ritual of sorts. Meditation. Intention. The voice recorder had to be the same one, had to be in the wooden box. The message had to be recorded at the exact moment of sunset on the exact date. It sounded like pseudoscience. Like wishful thinking. But the recording had existed. Lily had heard it. Had lived because of it. That evening, as the sun set over Chicago, Lily sat alone in the room where she'd first listened to her future self's warning. The wooden box sat open in front of her. She held the voice recorder in shaking hands. She thought about everything that had happened. The test results. Daniel's aneurysm. The surgeries. the life they'd built. Little Rosa sleeping in her room down the hall. All of it hinged on this moment, on her sending a message back to a younger version of herself who was scared and lost and needed guidance. Lily pressed record. She closed her eyes and thought about her 32-year-old self, crying in this same room, terrified of the future. "Lily," she began, and her voice came out older, raspier than she remembered. 5 years of life had changed it. "I know this is going to sound completely insane. Trust me, I get it. But you need to listen to every word I'm about to say because your life depends on it." She said everything she remembered saying. Every word about the BRCA test, about Dr. Peterson, about not waiting. She talked about Daniel, about telling him she loved him before it was too late. She meant every word with every fiber of her being. When she finished, she felt something shift. Not physically, not anything she could describe. Just a sense of rightness, of completion. Like a door closing and opening at the same time. She placed the recorder back in the wooden box exactly as she'd found it 5 years ago. She added Aunt Rosa's journal, the one with instructions. She wrote a note to her younger self explaining everything, then sealed it all inside. The next day, she mailed the box to Aunt Rosa's house, backdated to 2 weeks after Rosa's death, with instructions for it to be placed in the attic. "Do you think it'll work?" Daniel asked that night as they lay in bed. "Do you think the loop is complete?" "It has to be," Lily said. "We're here, aren't we? Rosa's alive somewhere in the timeline I just created. The me that's 32 is about to find the box. It's already happened. It's happening now. It will happen." "Time is weird." "Time is weird," Lily agreed. She thought about her younger self about to discover a mysterious recording, about to have her whole world turned upside down, about to make the hardest and best decisions of her life. "Thank you," Lily whispered into the dark. She didn't know if she was talking to her past self or her future self or Aunt Rosa or the universe. Maybe all of them. Daniel pulled her closer. "For what?" "For being here. For saying yes to coffee that day. For fighting for us even when I was too scared to fight for myself." "Always," Daniel said. Downstairs, little Rosa cried out in her sleep. Lily got up to check on her, standing in the doorway of their daughter's room, watching her sleep. This little girl existed because of a warning sent backward through time. Because someone had loved Lily enough to break the rules of reality to save her. Lily touched the scar on her chest, the one that meant she'd chosen to live. She thought about the recording sitting in Aunt Rosa's attic waiting to be found, waiting to save her all over again. The loop was complete. The future she'd lived had become the past she'd changed. And standing here, watching her daughter sleep, listening to her husband moving around in their bedroom, Lily knew one thing with absolute certainty. Some love was strong enough to transcend time itself, and sometimes, the person who saves your life is you.